You can see through walls, you can see through night, you can see through fog. You are Superman. Anyone who's making contact with the enemy is going to have superhuman augmented vision that allows them to never miss their shot. But what if you could have 100 eyes all throughout your head, all looking out into the world, and at the slightest disturbance, be like, I think someone's opening that window and firing. The system that we're building is called EagleEye. We're gonna make our warfighters into unstoppable technomancers.
I need one of these helmets. Let's talk about Anduril in the IVAS program.
So IVAS is a program that is the modern instantiation of a very old idea. This idea that you are going to augment the vision of soldiers and give them superhuman perception abilities. The idea is you can see at night, you can see thermal signatures, you can see hyperspectral signatures, you have extraordinary superhuman hearing, you're able to mark targets in the environment without projecting anything in the environment. You can seamlessly see in your heads-up display where all of your friends are, where all of your foes are, where all of the innocents and non-combatants are, and have that all just seamlessly presented to you as if you're Superman. You know, you can see through walls, you can see through night, you can see through fog. You are Superman. This idea has been around for a very long time of putting a heads-up display, a computer, and a radio on every soldier. You can even go back to Robert Heinlein's 1959 novel, Starship Troopers, and that was really the concept behind the mobile infantry. They're wearing these kind of mech suits with fighter jet style heads-up displays that show them where all their targets are, that show them where all of the good guys are, that help them do ballistics calculations, showing where bullet impact is going to be in a much more intelligent way than just, you know, putting a red dot that's coaxial aligned, but actually saying like, here is the impact point, factoring in the wind, factoring in your motion, factoring in what the other guy is doing. People have tried this over and over again through history, and the tech's just never quite been ready, and they've also not maybe worked on it in quite the right way. But most importantly, nobody's ever built a software backend that could make it work. Even if the helmets were okay, they didn't have this kind of system, whether it's AI or something else, that could understand the whole battle space, taking in sensors from everybody. So my helmet, his helmet, and that airplane, and that airplane, and that satellite, and that ship. You get what I'm saying. You're building one common fused view of the world in real time has never really been properly accomplished. And so you have programs like Future Warrior and Net Warrior and Connected Soldier and Land Warrior. You have all these different programs where the Army has tried over and over. IVAS is sort of the latest attempt at this kind of individual infantry vision augmentation system. When the IVAS contract was first awarded years ago, it was a really big deal, and I was really excited about it. I knew I couldn't compete with it because, unfortunately, it was being awarded right around the time that I was starting Anduril. So when the IVAS program was kind of running through the wickets, Anduril was 12 people. Obviously, I was not going to be able to win this contract. But as an AR/VR guy, I was really excited that the Army was moving in that direction. And they were putting a lot of resources behind it. IVAS is a $22 billion contract. It's enormous. Wow. The plan is not to put this on the heads of one person or, you know, one top tier unit. It's to put it on the heads of every single person in the Army who's bearing a rifle. Anyone who's making contact with the enemy is going to have superhuman augmented vision that allows them to never miss anything, never miss their shot, never hit the wrong thing. You probably more than almost anybody can probably understand what an incredible tool that would be.
Yeah.
The problem is that even IVAS has been plagued by many of the problems that have hit a lot of these other systems. You didn't have the back end that could provide all of that data to make it a useful thing rather than just a heads-up display. You didn't have the hardware working as well as it could have. There were a lot of soldier reports that it was making people sick, that it was making people dizzy, that it was causing signature problems. There were quotes from soldiers in evaluations who said, "This is going to get me killed." It was running into a lot of issues. Anyway, the punchline is, over the last year, I've been working on an angle to try and get the IVAS program into a better place, to try and make it everything that it should be. A few months ago, we teamed up with Microsoft, which was the company that had won the IVAS contract and that was using something based on their HoloLens system, which is now discontinued, to build the IVAS product. And we partnered with them to integrate Lattice, our AI system, with their heads-up display. So we integrated that. We did it very quickly. It was actually a less than 3-week process. In 3 weeks, we went from teaming up to having Lattice feeding all of our 3-dimensional tracking information into their existing IVAS heads of display. We did a soldier touch point with it. They used it in some exercises and some trials. They said, oh my God, this is incredible. I can see drones that are coming to attack me. I can see what their attack vectors are. I can see where the people controlling them are. I can see where I need to go to be safe in an amount of time that is reasonable before that drone actually gets to me. Really, really powerful stuff.
Wow.
But here's the really big deal. As of just about now, Anduril is taking over the IVAS program as the prime. Microsoft is transferring all of the employees, hardware, IP, facilities, everything to Anduril. We are now going to be the prime on the IVAS program. We are going to continue to integrate Lattice into it, and we are building a totally new system on the hardware side that is going to be better than anything that anyone has ever seen. It is going to be by far the best AR, VR, MR, vision augmentation system that has ever been built in terms of resolution, in terms of field of view, in terms of graphical fidelity, in terms of sensor quality and what you can do with those sensors. It is a bigger jump from what exists today than the jump that I made when I started Oculus. It is a jump that I think cannot be overstated. And I am very aligned with the Army's vision in terms of this being something that should be on everybody, but I think my vision goes maybe even a little further. I don't just want this on every person who's carrying a rifle. I want it on every logistician, every loadmaster, every rotary wing pilot, every fixed wing pilot. I want it deployed with everybody across every service, every branch, so that every person is eyes for everyone else. If you
What about police?
I think that police is going to be a very interesting. It's going to be an interesting but adjacent challenge. So for example, police, you're trying to make something that they can wear all day, every day, and they're also interacting face to face with people. Like, let me put it this way. You can't put a RoboCop helmet on most police officers. It's too heavy, it's too much protection, it's for what they're doing day to day. But the software backend is certainly going to integrate. Like I'll give an example. I think that probably what you're going to see on law enforcement officers is going to look more like a pair of Oakleys that is still running Lattice. It's still showing them where threats are, but it probably doesn't need the ability to pick up an attack helicopter 15 clicks out and then flag them where they need to go. Like, I probably don't need that type of expensive sensing on there. I probably need things that are much more, of a local web, but that's definitely going to happen. And it's something I'm very excited about. Also, like, you look at things like body cameras, like you could make body cameras that are way better, that do 360-degree capture. And right now, a body camera for a law enforcement officer is really just a tool that gets his ass in hot water, right? Like that's basically its job. Not enough people look at footage from these body cams and say, oh, wow, this guy was totally in the right in what he did, right? If the footage exonerates their actions, then everyone ignores it and the media says nothing. And if it shows that he made any mistake, then they're gonna hoist him by his own petard. What I want to see is body cameras that are a tool that law enforcement officers are excited to use. I want something that's watching my six. I want something that's watching for threats that I'm not seeing. I want basically a guardian angel on my shoulder that is able to do what backup would normally do for me, and at a superhuman level. Like, imagine if you could have not just eyes in the back of your head, but what if you could have 100 eyes all throughout your head, all looking out into the world, and at the slightest disturbance, be like, holy shit, I think someone's opening that window and firing, like they're aiming a gun from that window. It should be telling me not like, hey, be aware that someone might be shooting you. It should be giving you even more direct commands than that. Like, it should throw a red threat alert and show you a direction you need to throw yourself immediately to not get shot, to get behind cover. Like, you're going to see very tight integration between man and machine on these things. Anyway, IVAS is very much a warfighter oriented system, and it's oriented towards the things that people at the tip of the spear are doing. I think you're going to see similar ideas, but oriented around maybe a different form factor for law enforcement.
What does it look like?
What does it look like? It looks like one of my beliefs with the previous IVAS system, it was not very tightly integrated into the helmet. So you wear your ballistic helmet and it basically straps on top of it. You like clip it on the brim here, you run a strap to the back, there's a big battery pack and compute module back here, there's a big sensor brim you clip onto the helmet. The problem when you're trying to clip onto an existing system is it ends up not very tightly integrated, lots of snag points, lots of snag hazard. It ends up being very heavy and misbalanced, where it's really, really torquing your neck. The thing that I'm building is an all-up integrated ballistic shell that integrates hearing protection, hearing augmentation, vision augmentation, all into one seamless ballistic shell that protects you from air bursts, direct fire rounds, all blast and concussion, the whole thing in one integrated, seamless product. And I'm not quite ready to show the actual thing, but true to Anduril product company fashion, we've been investing a ton of resources in this for years at this point. So I knew that I wanted this to happen years ago. I wasn't sure if I would be able to make it happen, but we started putting millions of dollars into this years ago so that if it happened, we would be ready to go and not, trying to catch up from the start.
Damn.
Anyway, this shit is going to be crazy. I'm pretty, so the first fully integrated system, meaning it has all of the different sensors, all of the different compute and vision augmentation systems all integrated into one thing, is going to be done at the end of March. So right now we're basically in systems test where we have individual systems that we are, doing development and testing of, but the first fully integrated helmet with all of this stuff actually working, tied together with lattice, feeding tracks, that's all going to be done in March. And just to give you an example of how useful this might be, if you want to mark a target for somebody else, you'd have to use a laser, right? What if you could mark it digitally and you don't emit any signature for anyone else with nods to see? And what if everyone else can see it? Here's an even crazier, and this is, when I say crazy, I don't mean a hypothetical, you could just do this with this tech. Imagine that you're doing some kind of pincer and you have some guys over here, some guys over here, and I can't see a guy behind that building, but you can. If you're seeing him, it's taking that track, it's taking that enemy mark, and it's now putting it into my vision. I can now see through the building, through the wall, and I can see the guy coming around the corner before he's there.
Shit. So they're all talking to each other.
It's all continuously, and it's not just the helmets, you're also, anything that's seamed into lattice is talking to you. So if there's a drone overhead that sees a guy 5 clicks out that way, coming up a hill, and he thinks he's going to set up on top of that hill and pop you. Imagine if it sees him, it notifies you, you look at him coming over that hill, and you bring your rifle on target. Literally the moment he clears, you're taking out that threat. That's the type of kind of combined sensing and combined arms tactics that this enables. It's going to make robots and people work together so seamlessly, like they're just one cohesive, effective unit. And this is also the way that I think you're going to have, robot dogs, robot soldiers integrated with human force. Imagine if you see a guy who's, running around a building, you lose sight of him. You can't deal with him because you've got something else. What if I can now task another robot and say, hey, just stay on that. Don't let that guy get into a position where he can fire at me. And if it looks like he's going to, let me know and we'll make him a priority. Now I don't have to spend my very limited vision processing and engagement capability just tracking that potential threat who might be running away or might be just repositioning. Isn't it great if I can just tell the drone overhead, hey, watch that guy. If he's really just running away in his sandals, I don't care about that right now. Maybe we're going to go track him down later, but I don't really care about him right now. Today, it's really hard to make that work. You end up with people getting basically pulled onto all these different tasks, and they have to make split-second decisions because they don't have unlimited bandwidth. When you have computers watching all these sensors and you have an unlimited amount of attention though that a computer can give, you can have that computer doing everything for you. You can say, watch every single one of those windows and watch every single one of those doors and just let me know if I need to worry about it.
I get a question.
Fire away.
That's fucking amazing, by the way.
It's going to be so good.
But would you be able to, would there be any way to do, let's say something like the Bin Laden raid?
Yeah.
Would there be a way to integrate some type of facial recognition? So if it was a capture kill mission,
sure,
or potentially a hostage rescue, would there be a way to basically identify, hey, that's the hostage? That
sure.
stuff can get tricky depending on how they're dressed, what their ethnicity is.
I think, so I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of facial recognition, mostly because the situations where it works, I believe, are pretty limited. And if you're wrong, it's such a spooky thing. Like what if it tells you the wrong thing? Like what if it is wrong? How do you delegate responsibility for that? And
what about?
But I will tell you this. Like, here's how I would handle that problem. I probably wouldn't use facial recognition. And I'm just making this up on the fly. I haven't thought this through very well, so you'll have to forgive me. First of all, going into something like the Bin Laden raid, I probably would have set up drones around that whole site with things like wall penetrating radar systems that are flooding that whole area with RF energy so that I can actually see people moving around inside the buildings behind the walls. If I can do that, then I can, like, if I'm a hostage, I can probably guess, like, a guy up against the wall, who's staying there even when shit's going down, probably not someone I need to worry about as much as the guys who all of a sudden start scrambling around like flies the moment that we land in the yard. So that you're gonna have a pretty good idea even just from shit like that. But if it were me, my understanding is during the Bin Laden raid, there was a live video feed from the team back all the way to the Situation Room. Is that correct? That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
On it.
Well, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. I would love to see a situation where you basically have the feed from everyone's cameras being fed back to a talk, and you've got a bunch of analysts in there who have seen this guy 100,000 times on every bit of on all their intel. They've built up pattern of life on this guy. They know what he's wearing every day when he goes to take a piss in the yard. Like, I would want a guy where instead of facial recognition trying to make a guess, I can look at somebody and there's like 10 angels over my shoulder in the form of human intel analysts who will say, that's him. That's the guy that you want.
I mean, there could be other things. Let me give you another example. Maybe there's a CIA asset that's on the ground or on the target at the time of the raid.
That's going to be for this.
So, or you have the bad guy's phone, it's just constantly tracking his phone.
Yep.
Or the CIA asset has some type of a beacon that appears into the imagery that you're looking at. So it just helps with
that will definitely happen. And like, you think about I think for that like CIA asset, he's probably not going to be wearing the system that we're building is called EagleEye.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be wearing a full EagleEye, integrated ballistic visor probably. He's probably going to be wearing something more like Oakley's that just look like he's just a normal dude, but it's presenting him with, hey, that's the target. We're tracking him.
Maybe I'm misspeaking here. So
I might just be misunderstanding.
I'm talking about, okay, let's say.
Hey folks, our friends at Tractor Supply have always stood for community, for neighbors helping neighbors, and for the people who keep life out here moving forward. And at the heart of every community are the heroes who serve, the veterans, active duty military, first responders, and the families who stand beside them. These are the folks who answer the call, who protect, who sacrifice. And Tractor Supply believes that deserves more than just a thank you. That's why they created the Hometown Heroes program. It's their way of giving back in meaningful, everyday ways. As a hometown hero, you'll enjoy special perks through Neighbors Club, like earning rewards on every purchase, free trailer rentals and delivery, and exclusive savings on holidays that honor your service. And the best part? Once you sign up and verify through ID.me, it's automatic. No hoops, no hassles. So if you or someone you love is a hometown hero, visit tractorsupply.com/hometownheroes to learn more. It's Tractor Supply's way of standing behind those who always stand for us.
It's the target's doctor.
Sure.
Who is reporting to the agency, and he's the one that has the go switch that's saying, he's fucking here.
Yep.
Now's the time to do the hit. I'm on target.
Yep.
I'm in the same room as him.
Yep.
Don't fucking shoot me. I look just like everybody else that's here.
You're saying some kind of marker so that we know that it's
Yes.
That's super easy. I mean, like, you basically like with EagleEye, you actually have that inherently. All the helmets, and I can't talk about how they do it because, not great information to be out there. There are multiple ways for the helmets to know who is who, even in really tough environments, without the bad guys being able to pick up on how that works. But basically, if I'm wearing this helmet, If I look over into those bushes and my guys are over there, it's popping up their names above their heads. And it's
I don't mean they couldn't be wearing the helmet because they're undercover.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is it would be trivially easy to make something where if you know what the guy looks like and like you know what he's wearing, yeah, you could have it just scanning for that. And it's looking like I'm all, it's like doctor in white lab coat. And it's like it's Dr. Farij in the white lab coat and he's going to be wearing his tortoiseshell glasses. Like that is something you could definitely do. Where you enter the room and it says, it outlines him in blue and it says Dr. Farij probably. The thing
wow.
The thing is the
that
more
just makes the decision making.
Well, the situation you're talking about that's even a little different than facial recognition specifically. Like I'm actually a huge fan of height recognition. So one of the things, and when I say height, it's not even height. It's actually like skeletal recognition. So face recognition is hard because you need a good capture. It needs to be relatively dead on. It needs to be lighting. Is good enough? I'm a huge fan of being able to differentiate between different people on their skeletal pose. So like if I have a drone that's way overhead and it sees some guy walking through a doorway, especially if I know how big that doorway is, I can take that video, run it back, and I can basically build a model of how long his wrist to arm joint to shoulder distances are. And we're all different. Like we're all uneven too. Like my arms are slightly uneven. If I can basically say, oh, look, it's a 6'1" guy with an arm that's 2 inches shorter on this side and he leans a little bit to this side. Like you can be pretty freaking sure that's the same guy that you saw get into the car. Stuff like that is paired with facial recognition a lot more powerful. And what you're describing, it's like almost like clothing recognition. It's like, yeah, he's got a white lab coat, he's got the glasses, and he's got the face, and he's got the hair. And like if you have all of that, but the guy is only like 4 feet tall, then it would say, oh, that's not Dr. Farij. It doesn't. I don't care what his face looks like.
Yeah, so basically, I'm just looking at like an identifier, something to identify him. It shows.
Now, are you imagining? And you're imagining that this is like happening on the fly. Like we can't give him a beacon or something ahead of time, because if he has a beacon, it's really easy. If we can give him,
it would be easy to get an asset a beacon.
If I can give him,
you could implant something inside of them. You could. Well, if I can give him a water bottle, that has something in it. Or I don't know.
Honestly, like there's so many ways. So I mentioned like hyperspectral vision. Using hyperspectral cameras, you can look at things and they can tell you what it is made out of based on its spectral response across multiple frequencies. So you can say like that is stone, that is glass, and you can. Have you ever seen hyperspectral cameras that are used for detecting drugs? They can just look at something and like that's cocaine. Mm-hmm. It's really wild. There have been attempts in the past to use hyperspectral cameras for doing covert marking of vehicles. So like you'll have an operative walk by a car and they basically take a piece of invisible paint that you can't see with your human eye and they just like smear a line along the hood as they walk by. And it looks just like a smear of, dirt to a normal person, but on a hyperspectral camera, it shows up as a bright orange streak on it. You could just say like, hey, I'm going to give you a pen made out of hyperspectral stuff. I mean, like out of a weirdo material, like basically a chemical you would not normally see in a pen. You could say, I'm going to give you these eyeglasses, or honestly, you could give them some makeup. You could have them smear some, some of the right compound on their head, and you could have a system just see that and say, oh, it's like that it's that guy. We're gonna outline anyone who has this shit on their forehead. We're gonna outline their whole body in blue as a hostage.
Wow.
So there's a lot of interesting things you can do there. I haven't thought that much about these applications. I got to admit, I've mostly been thinking about it from a more big army versus special tactics.
Well, that's the world I come.
We'll have to bring you out once we have the
bring me out. I'd love to help develop it.
The cool thing is, I talked earlier about lattice. The goal is to take, and like maybe you can see where like my grand scheme is all coming together here. Like when I started Anduril, we said we're going to save taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. We're going to make our war fighters into unstoppable technomancers, and we literally said we're going to build augmented reality heads-up displays, fighter jets, smart cruise missiles. Like the things we're building today are literally what we said we were going to build 8 years ago. But remember I talked earlier about how Lattice, we're basically taking all this expertise of the world's best operators and boiling it down into an AI model that can help you. Imagine if you're an operator who's wearing something like EagleEye, IVAS. And imagine if I not only have a system that is watching my six and telling me what's going on, imagine if it can look at an aircraft that's coming to engage us. And then it also, like on board, the AI has the expertise of the world's best fighter pilots. Like, isn't that or best rotary wing pilots? Like, by building all this expertise in, you're potentially building a guardian angel that is like the superhuman, super intelligent thing. Like, imagine if it could look at it and says, oh shit, that's a Russian pilot based on the tactics that it's observing or the way that it's working. Or imagine it says, oh, he's going to come back around to do a low attack run. Like, this stuff is way beyond just, oh, there's a dot and there's the enemy. If you have the world's best expertise of the world's best warfighters distilled into one super AI, it's like you're rolling around with a whole team of experts sitting on your shoulder telling you what might happen next. And that's just, I'm so excited to live in that world, because I imagine that's not the world you live in, right? Like, or lived in. Like, I bet there were plenty of things you did where you said, man, I wish that we had the world's leading expert on X, Y, or Z here with me to tell me what was going on. And so when like you've probably played with the AI stuff where you're like, yeah, hey, like, who won the 1960 World Series? Yeah. Like, that's fine. But what if you could say, hey, how do I defuse this bomb? Or imagine like you seeing a vehicle and be like, how do I hotwire this car?
Damn.
And if it can just have all of that on tap for you and say, oh, well, either here's how to do it, or just say, you're shit out of luck. You can't hotwire this car in the 5 minutes that you have. You need to move on. Really excited about living in a world where everyone's working with access to the best information.
I need one of these helmets.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.